The arrival of the Inox. In the cold vacuum of space, the starship Aegis glided silently towards an uncharted planet. On board, Captain Elena Cordova observed the darkened surface of the planet below through the observation deck's thick glass. The crew of the Aegis had embarked on this mission with the hope of finding new resources, but what awaited them was something far more extraordinary. The planet, designated PX 924, had recently been detected on the outskirts of the Andromeda Galaxy. It was an enigma, showing signs of advanced civilization, yet no known species had ever claimed it. The crew was filled with a mix of excitement and trepidation. As the ship descended, the alien world came into view, a landscape dominated by towering spires of an unknown metallic alloy, stretching high into the atmosphere. The city below shimmered with an ethereal glow, almost as if it were alive. Commander Sarah Mitchell, the ship's chief scientist, scanned the structures with wide-eyed fascination. "Captain, the materials here are unlike anything we've ever seen. It's almost organic, yet artificial at the same time." Elena nodded, her eyes narrowed in thought. "Prepare the landing team. We need to find out who, or what, built this place." Within minutes, a small team of explorers suited up and made their way to the surface. The landing was smooth, and the team disembarked, stepping cautiously onto the alien soil. The air was thin but breathable, a surprising discovery that suggested the planet could support life similar to that on Earth. As they ventured into the city, the crew marveled at the architecture around them. The structures pulsed with a soft light, as if reacting to their presence. Lieutenant Mark Hansen, the ship's engineer, touched one of the walls, and it rippled beneath his fingers. "It's almost like it's alive," he muttered. The team advanced deeper into the city, their senses heightened with every step. Suddenly, the air shimmered, and before them appeared a group of beings, tall, slender, and covered in a sleek, silver skin that seemed to blend with the environment. The aliens, later known as the Inox, spoke in a language that resonated through the minds of the humans. It was not verbal, but rather a direct transfer of thoughts and emotions. The humans, unprepared for such a form of communication, struggled to understand. Commander Mitchell, however, had a gift for languages and focused on deciphering the message. "They're welcoming us," she said slowly, piecing together the meaning behind the flood of emotions. "They want to communicate, to exchange knowledge." Captain Cordova stepped forward, projecting calm and curiosity. "We come in peace," she said, hoping the Inox could understand her intent. "We wish to learn from you and share what we know." The Inox leader, who seemed to be slightly taller than the others, extended a hand, or what resembled one, towards the captain. In that moment, a connection was formed, not just between individuals, but between two vastly different civilizations. For hours, the humans and Inox shared knowledge, exchanging stories of their worlds, their histories, and their aspirations. The Inox were a race that had evolved to thrive in harmony with their environment, their cities living extensions of their own biology. They had long abandoned war and conflict, focusing instead on the pursuit of knowledge and understanding. A mysterious encounter. The deep expanse of space felt like a blanket, endless and overwhelming. The crew of the Horizon Explorer had ventured far beyond known territories, pushing the boundaries of human exploration. Commander Lisa Harris, an experienced and level-headed leader, sat in the captain's chair, her eyes fixed on the endless stars ahead. Beside her, Dr. Michael Foster, the ship's chief scientist, was engrossed in analyzing the latest data from their scanners. "We've been traveling through this sector for days," Lisa remarked, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. "There hasn't been a single sign of any celestial body or anomaly. It's as if this region is a void." Michael glanced up from his console, his brow furrowed in thought. "That's what makes it so intriguing. The lack of anything might mean there's something we're not seeing. Space isn't supposed to be this empty." Before Lisa could respond, the ship's communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, interrupted. "Commander, I'm picking up a faint signal. It's unusual, definitely not a natural occurrence." Lisa straightened in her seat, Can you pinpoint the source? Sarah's fingers flew over her console as she attempted to trace the signal. It's coming from about 50,000 kilometers ahead of us, but the signal is erratic. It's almost like it's being disrupted or reflected. Reflected, Lisa repeated, her curiosity piqued. On screen, Lieutenant. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a distant point in space. At first glance, there was nothing unusual, just the same empty void. But as the ship moved closer, a faint shimmer appeared, a distortion in the fabric of space itself. "What the hell is that?" muttered Lieutenant James Carter, the ship's helmsman, as he adjusted the ship's course to get a better look. Michael leaned closer to the screen, his eyes narrowing. "It's a cloaking field of some sort, but I've never seen anything like it. Whatever's behind it is deliberately hiding from us." Lisa considered the implications. Are we looking at a hostile force or just someone who doesn't want to be found? "Hard to say," Michael replied, "but we should proceed with caution." "Agreed," Lisa said. "Sarah, keep that signal locked. James, bring us in closer, but maintain a safe distance." The Horizon Explorer slowly approached the mysterious distortion, its engines humming quietly. As they drew nearer, the shimmer became more pronounced, revealing the outline of a massive structure hidden behind the cloaking field. "Magnify the image," Lisa ordered. The view screen zoomed in, and the crew gasped in unison. Before them was a massive alien ship, unlike anything they had ever seen. It was sleek and angular, with a dark, almost organic texture that seemed to absorb the light around it. The ship was colossal, easily dwarfing the Horizon Explorer in size. "This doesn't look like any ship in our databases," Sarah whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's not," Michael confirmed. "This is something entirely new." As they watched, the alien ship began to power up, its hull glowing with an eerie blue light. A deep, resonating hum filled the Horizon Explorer, vibrating through the ship's hull. "Commander, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup," Sarah reported, her voice tense. "It's like nothing I've ever seen, if it's a weapon." "Shields up," Lisa ordered immediately. "All hands, brace for impact." The crew scrambled to their stations as the alien ship's energy levels continued to rise. The tension on the bridge was palpable, each second feeling like an eternity. Just as the energy buildup reached its peak, the alien ship released a pulse of energy, but instead of a destructive beam, the pulse washed over the Horizon Explorer, passing harmlessly through the hull. "What just happened?" James asked, confusion evident in his voice. Michael quickly analyzed the ship's systems. It wasn't an attack. It was some kind of scanning pulse, but far more advanced than anything we have. "Are they trying to communicate?" Lisa wondered aloud. Before anyone could respond, the view screen flickered, and the bridge was filled with a soft, melodic voice. It was calm, almost soothing, and it spoke in a language none of them recognized. The words flowed like music, resonating with a strange harmony that sent shivers down their spines. "Sarah, can you translate that?" Lisa asked, her eyes locked on the screen. "I'm trying, Commander, but the language isn't in our database. It's completely unknown," Sarah replied, frustration creeping into her voice. The voice continued, and though they couldn't understand the words, there was an unmistakable sense of urgency in its tone. The alien ship's lights began to flash in a rhythmic pattern, synchronized with the voice, as if it was trying to convey a message through both sound and light. "We need to figure out what they're saying," Michael said, his mind racing. "If we can't communicate, this encounter could go very wrong." Lisa nodded in agreement. "Sarah, keep working on that translation. Michael, see if you can find any pattern in the lights that might help us understand what they're trying to say." The bridge crew worked frantically, trying to decipher the alien message. The tension in the room was thick, each passing moment bringing them closer to a potential confrontation with the unknown. Then, just as suddenly as it had started, the voice and lights stopped. The alien ship powered down, its cloak reactivating as it faded back into the darkness of space. "What the hell just happened?" James asked, his voice echoing the confusion of the entire crew. "I don't know," Lisa admitted, her eyes still fixed on the spot where the alien ship had vanished. "But whatever that was, it wasn't just a simple encounter. They were trying to tell us something." Michael stared at his console, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need to figure out what that message was. It could be the key to understanding this entire region of space." Lisa nodded. "Agreed. Let's analyze every bit of data we collected. We need to know what they were trying to say and why they were so desperate to tell us." As the crew of the Horizon Explorer began their analysis, they couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stepped into something far bigger than themselves. The vast emptiness of space now felt even more ominous, as if it was hiding secrets that humanity was not yet ready to uncover. And as they continued their journey, one question lingered in everyone's mind. What had the aliens seen in them that made them reach out so urgently? Decoding the message. The crew of the Horizon Explorer had spent hours analyzing the data from their mysterious encounter with the alien ship. The atmosphere on the bridge was tense, with everyone acutely aware that they had stumbled upon something far beyond their understanding. Commander Lisa Harris stood by the central console, her eyes scanning the streams of data displayed on the screen. Beside her, Dr. Michael Foster was deep in thought, sifting through the complex patterns of light and sound they had recorded. "Any progress?" Lisa asked, her voice steady despite the unease she felt. Michael nodded slowly. "I've been able to identify a pattern in the lights. It's a binary sequence, but it's not one we're familiar with. It's more complex, almost like a multi-layered code." "Can you translate it?" Lisa asked, her curiosity growing. "I'm working on it," Michael replied, "but it's going to take time. The language is incredibly advanced, and it doesn't align with anything we've encountered before." Sarah Kim, the communications officer, chimed in. "I've been analyzing the audio, and I think the voice was modulating its pitch and frequency in a way that could represent mathematical concepts. It's almost as if they were trying to communicate through both light and sound simultaneously, using them as different layers of the same message." Lisa frowned, considering the implications. "So, they're communicating on multiple levels. That suggests a highly sophisticated form of intelligence." "Exactly," Michael agreed. "And it also means that whatever they were trying to tell us is important. They went to great lengths to make sure we got the message." James Carter, the helmsman, leaned back in his chair, his expression serious. "But why didn't they just use a universal translator or some form of basic communication? Why make it so difficult?" "That's the real question," Lisa said. "Maybe they didn't know how to communicate with us directly, or maybe they wanted to test our ability to understand complex signals." Or, Sarah added, "they could be warning us about something." The urgency in that voice wasn't just a greeting. It felt like they were trying to tell us something crucial, something we need to know. Michael's eyes widened as a new thought occurred to him. What if the message is a warning? What if they're trying to tell us about a danger we're not aware of? Lisa's gaze sharpened. "If that's the case, we need to decode this message as soon as possible. There's no telling what we might be facing out here." The crew redoubled their efforts, each of them focused on their task. Hours passed as they worked tirelessly, analyzing every detail of the encounter. The ship's AI assisted in breaking down the patterns, running simulations, and cross-referencing data with their extensive database of known alien species and languages. Finally, Michael stood up from his console, his face pale but determined. "I think I got something." Lisa hurried over to him. "What is it?" Michael pointed to the screen, where a series of translated symbols and phrases were displayed. The binary code was a kind of mathematical key. Once I applied it to the light patterns, it started to make sense. The message isn't just a warning, it's a map. "A map," Lisa repeated, surprised. "Yes," Michael confirmed. "It's a map to a specific location in this sector. But there's more." The audio signal was layered with another message, a set of coordinates, and a directive. It's telling us to go there, but also warning us to proceed with extreme caution. What's of the coordinates? James asked, leaning in to get a better look. Michael shook his head. I don't know, but the message suggests it's something of immense importance, something that could either help or harm us, depending on how we approach it. Lisa's mind raced as she weighed their options. We're already deep in uncharted space, and now we're being led to an unknown location by an alien race we've never encountered before. This could be the discovery of a lifetime, but it could also be a trap. Michael met her gaze, his expression serious. We won't know unless we go. Lisa took a deep breath, her decision made. Set a course for the coordinates, but keep our shields up and weapons ready. We're going in cautiously. The crew sprang into action, the tension on the bridge mounting as they prepared to venture into the unknown. The Horizon Explorer changed course, heading toward the coordinates provided by the alien message. As the ship moved through the void, the stars seemed to shift, as if the universe itself was holding its breath in anticipation. As they neared the coordinates, the sensors began to pick up strange readings, anomalies in space-time, energy signatures that defied explanation, and a faint but persistent signal that seemed to resonate with the message they had decoded. There's something there, Sarah reported, her voice tinged with excitement and fear. I'm picking up a structure, massive, and it's emitting an energy field unlike anything we've seen. On screen, Lisa ordered, her heart pounding. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a colossal structure floating in the void. It was ancient, covered in strange symbols and glowing with an ethereal light. The structure seemed to pulse with energy, as if it was alive, and at its center was a massive, swirling vortex, a gateway to somewhere else. What is that? James whispered, unable to tear his eyes away from the sight. Michael stared at the structure, his mind racing. I don't know, but it's the source of the signal. Whatever this is, it's what the aliens wanted us to find. Lisa's mind whirled with possibilities. This could be a gateway, a power source, or something far more dangerous. We need to approach this carefully. As the Horizon Explorer drew closer to the structure, the ship's systems began to react. Lights flickered, instruments fluctuated, and a deep hum resonated through the hull. It was as if the structure was aware of their presence, reacting to them in ways they couldn't understand. Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke up, its voice calm but urgent. Commander, I'm detecting a temporal distortion field surrounding the structure. It's destabilizing, and if we get too close, it could pull us in. Back us off, Lisa ordered, her voice steady despite the growing tension. James quickly adjusted the ship's course, pulling them away from the edge of the distortion field. The Horizon Explorer held position at a safe distance, the crew's eyes locked on the mysterious structure before them. We can't just leave this here, Michael said, his voice filled with a mix of awe and determination. This could be the key to understanding the message, to unlocking the secrets of this region of space. Lisa nodded, her mind made up. We're not leaving, but we need to figure out what this structure is and how to approach it safely. If the aliens wanted us to find this, then there's a reason. We need to understand what that reason is before it's too late. As the crew began to analyze the structure, searching for a way to unlock its secrets, the vast emptiness of space seemed to close in around them. The feeling of being on the brink of something monumental weighed heavily on everyone. What they would discover in the heart of the structure was a mystery, but it was a mystery they were determined to solve. The revelation. The crew of the Horizon Explorer worked feverishly to understand the enigmatic structure before them. Every piece of data, every signal, every reading was meticulously analyzed, yet the mystery only deepened. The structure's design was unlike anything they had encountered before, an intricate mesh of alien technology that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Michael Foster had hardly slept, his mind racing with theories as he studied the complex patterns within the structure's energy field. The deeper he delved, the more he became convinced that this was no ordinary artifact. It was a construct of incredible power and purpose. Commander Lisa Harris stood at the center of the bridge, her gaze fixed on the view screen. The swirling vortex at the heart of the structure seemed to beckon them, its glowing light pulsating in a rhythm that felt almost alive. It was as if the structure was a living entity, waiting for them to unlock its secrets. "Any progress, Michael?" Lisa asked, her voice calm but laced with urgency. Michael looked up from his console, dark circles under his eyes. "I've been able to isolate a pattern in the energy emissions. It's a sequence, almost like a code, but it's more than that. It's a set of instructions, a blueprint for activating the structure." "Activating it?" James Carter, the helmsman, asked, his brow furrowing in concern. "Are you sure that's a good idea? We have no idea what this thing is capable of." "We don't," Michael admitted, "but I think this structure was meant to be found and activated. The message we decoded wasn't just a map, it was a directive. The aliens wanted us to come here and do something specific. This might be the key to understanding why." Sarah Kim, the communications officer, added, "The signals we're receiving from the structure, they're increasing in intensity. It's as if it's responding to our presence, like it's waiting for us to make the next move." Lisa considered their options, her mind racing. If we activate this structure, we could be triggering something we're not prepared for. But if we don't, we may never know what the aliens were trying to communicate, or what dangers lie ahead. The decision weighed heavily on her. They were deep in uncharted space, far from any support, facing an unknown and potentially dangerous force. But Lisa knew that they couldn't turn back now. Whatever this structure was, it held the key to a greater mystery, one that could change everything. "Michael," she said, her voice firm, "prepare to initiate the activation sequence. But keep our shields at full strength and all systems on standby. If anything goes wrong, I want us ready to pull back immediately." Michael nodded, his fingers moving swiftly over the console as he input the sequence he had deciphered. The bridge fell silent, the tension palpable as the crew watched the view screen, their hearts pounding in anticipation. As Michael completed the sequence, the structure began to hum with energy, the glow from the vortex intensifying. The ship's sensors picked up a surge in power as the structure responded to the activation. "Energy levels are spiking," Sarah reported, her voice steady but tense. "The distortion field is stabilizing. Whatever we've done, it's working." Suddenly, the vortex at the heart of the structure expanded, its swirling light becoming a blinding white. The entire ship trembled as the structure's energy field enveloped them, pulling them closer. "Brace for impact," Lisa shouted, gripping the edge of the console as the ship was caught in the vortex's pull. The Horizon Explorer was drawn into the light, the stars outside the viewscreen blurring as the ship was catapulted through the vortex. The crew held on as the ship accelerated, the space around them warping and twisting in ways that defied explanation. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the motion ceased. The ship emerged from the vortex into a new region of space, one that was unlike anything they had ever seen. The view screen flickered, and the crew stared in awe at the sight before them. They were in the heart of a vast, cosmic expanse, surrounded by swirling nebulae of vibrant colors, stars that shimmered with a strange, ethereal light, and massive structures that floated in the void, some ancient, some impossibly advanced, and all connected by beams of light that pulsed with energy. This is incredible," Sarah whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "Where are we?" Michael's eyes were wide with amazement as he scanned the data. "I don't know, but the energy readings are off the charts. We've been transported to a different region of space, possibly even a different dimension." Lisa's gaze was fixed on the view screen, her mind reeling with the implications. This must be what the aliens wanted us to find, a gateway to another realm, another level of existence. As they watched, a massive structure came into view, larger than anything they had ever encountered. It was a city in space, sprawling across the void with towering spires and glowing energy conduits that connected it to the surrounding nebulae. The city was alive with activity, its surface teeming with ships, lights, and beings that defied description. Its surface teeming with ships, lights, and beings that defied description. "This isn't just a city," Michael said, his voice hushed with reverence. "It's a hub, a nexus of different civilizations, different realities. We've stumbled upon something beyond our wildest imagination." Lisa nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. This is what the aliens wanted us to find, a gateway to a higher level of existence, a place where different worlds, different species come together. "But why?" James asked, his voice tinged with awe. "Why would they bring us here?" Before anyone could answer, the ship's sensors picked up a new signal, an incoming transmission from the massive structure. The transmission was in a language they didn't recognize, but the tone was unmistakable. It was a greeting, a welcome. "They know we're here," Sarah said, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Lisa took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "Open a channel. Let's see who, or what, has been expecting us." As the channel opened, the view screen flickered, and the image of a being appeared, an entity of light and energy, its form shifting and pulsing with power. It spoke, its voice resonating through the ship in a way that was both soothing and awe-inspiring. "Welcome, travelers," the being said. "You have journeyed far, across space and time, to reach this place. You stand at the threshold of a new reality, where the boundaries of your world no longer apply. Here, you'll find answers, but also new questions. The path you have chosen is one of discovery, but also of great responsibility. Choose wisely, for the decisions you make here will shape the future of your species, and perhaps the future of many others." The crew of the Horizon Explorer stared in stunned silence, the weight of the being's words sinking in. They had ventured into the unknown, and now they were standing on the precipice of something far greater than they had ever imagined. Lisa met the gaze of the being on the screen, her resolve firm. "We came here seeking answers, and we will face whatever challenges lie ahead. We're ready." The being nodded, its form shimmering with approval. "Then your journey begins. Welcome to the Nexus, the heart of the multiverse, where all realities converge. May your path be one of wisdom and courage." As the transmission ended, the crew of the Horizon Explorer exchanged glances, the enormity of their situation sinking in. They were no longer just explorers of their own galaxy. They were now part of something far greater, a journey that would take them to the very limits of existence. And as they set course for the Nexus, the crew knew that their adventure was only just beginning. The Nexus. The Horizon Explorer moved closer to the Nexus, the massive structure that now dominated their view screen. The city-like construct was a marvel of engineering, with countless spires, domes, and bridges that connected its various sectors. Streams of energy flowed between these points, creating a network of light that pulsated rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Inside the ship, the crew prepared for their next steps. Dr. Michael Foster continued to analyze the data streaming in from the Nexus, trying to make sense of the readings that defied conventional understanding. Commander Lisa Harris, meanwhile, worked with the team to ensure that all systems were at peak performance. There was no telling what they might encounter once they docked. As they approached the Nexus, a docking port extended from the structure, guiding them in like a welcoming hand. The Horizon Explorer slowed to a crawl, and with a gentle thud, the ship made contact with the port. The docking clamps engaged, securing the ship in place. "Docking complete," James Carter reported from the helm. "We're locked in." Lisa nodded, taking a deep breath. "All right, team, this is it. We don't know what's waiting for us out there, but we need to stay sharp. Michael, Sarah, James, you're with me. Let's see what this Nexus has in store." The crew members gathered their equipment and made their way to the airlock. The tension was palpable, a mix of anticipation and anxiety. The unknown stretched out before them, and though they were seasoned explorers, this was unlike anything they had ever faced. As the airlock cycled, the outer door slid open, revealing a corridor that led into the heart of the Nexus. The corridor was bathed in soft light, with walls that seemed to shimmer and shift as if alive. The atmosphere was calm, almost serene, but the underlying sense of being watched lingered. The crew stepped out of the Horizon Explorer and into the corridor. The floor beneath their feet was smooth, almost metallic, but it resonated with a subtle vibration that they could feel through their boots. It was as if the entire structure was humming with energy. "Stay close and keep your eyes open," Lisa said, her voice steady as she led the way. "We don't know what kind of environment we're dealing with here." The corridor opened up into a vast chamber, and the crew's breath was taken away by the sight. The chamber was enormous, with a ceiling that stretched high above them and walls that seemed to curve in ways that defied normal geometry. The space was filled with floating platforms, each adorned with symbols and patterns that glowed with an inner light. At the center of the chamber stood a large platform, different from the others. It was circular, with a raised pedestal in the middle, atop which floated a glowing crystal. The crystal pulsed with a soft, blue light, casting intricate patterns of light across the chamber. "What is this place?" Sarah Kin whispered, her voice filled with awe. Michael Foster stepped forward, his scanner in hand, analyzing the crystal. "This is some kind of central hub, a control center, maybe. The energy readings are off the scale. This crystal, it's the core of the Nexus, the source of its power." Lisa approached the platform, her gaze fixed on the crystal. "If this is the heart of the Nexus, then maybe it's also the key to understanding what this place is and why we were brought here." As they gathered around the platform, the crystal suddenly began to emit a low hum. The symbols on the surrounding platforms flared to life, their light intensifying. The chamber vibrated slightly, as if the Nexus itself was reacting to their presence. "Something's happening," James said, his voice tense. "We're triggering some kind of response." Before anyone could react, beams of light shot out from the crystal, connecting with the platforms around the chamber. The beams formed a complex web of energy, and as the web grew, the chamber was filled with a series of holographic images, projections of other worlds, other realities. The crew watched in stunned silence as the images played out before them. They saw alien landscapes, bustling cities, and strange beings, all connected by the Nexus, all part of a vast, interconnected multiverse. This is incredible," Michael breathed. "The Nexus is more than just a gateway, it's a hub, a control center for the multiverse. It links different realities, different dimensions. This is what the aliens wanted us to find, a way to connect with other worlds, other civilizations." Lisa's mind raced as she took in the magnitude of what they were witnessing. The Nexus wasn't just a discovery, it was a revelation, a bridge between worlds that could change everything they knew about the universe. But as she watched the projections, Lisa noticed something else. Among the images of distant worlds, there were scenes of destruction, worlds torn apart by conflict, civilizations on the brink of collapse. The Nexus wasn't just a tool for exploration, it was a weapon, a means to control or destroy entire realities. "We have to be careful," Lisa said, her voice heavy with concern. "This technology, it's more powerful than anything we've ever encountered. In the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic." Michael nodded, his expression serious. "We need to understand how it works, how it's controlled. There must be a reason why the aliens left it for us to find." As they continued to study the crystal and the projections, a new image appeared in the center of the web, a figure, shrouded in light, standing on a distant world. The figure was indistinct, but it radiated a sense of authority, of power. It was clear that this being was the one behind the Nexus, the one who had brought them here. The figure raised its hand, and the chamber filled with a voice, deep, resonant, and commanding. "You have found the Nexus," the voice said, echoing through the chamber. "You are now connected to the web of worlds, the infinite possibilities of the multiverse. But with this connection comes great responsibility. The choices you make will shape the fate of countless realities. Choose wisely, for the power of the Nexus can either create or destroy." The figure's image began to fade, But the voice lingered. Your journey is only beginning. The Nexus is a tool, but it is also a test. Will you use it to unite, to explore, to learn, or will you succumb to the temptation of power, to control and dominate? The future of your world, and many others, rests in your hands. The image vanished and the chamber fell silent. The crystal continued to pulse with light, but the web of energy slowly dissipated, leaving the crew to contemplate the gravity of the situation. Lisa turned to her team, her expression resolute. We've been given a gift, but also a burden. We need to understand this technology, to learn how to use it responsibly. We have to ensure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Michael nodded in agreement. We'll need to study the Nexus, figure out its safeguards, its limitations. But first, we need to report back to Earth, let them know what we've found. Sarah chimed in, her voice steady. If we can harness the Nexus, it could be a beacon of hope, a way to connect with other civilizations, to share knowledge and resources. But we have to be careful. This kind of power, it could change everything. Lisa took a deep breath, her mind racing with the possibilities and the dangers. The Nexus was a gateway to the unknown, a path that could lead to incredible discoveries or unimaginable destruction. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Their journey had only just begun, and the decisions they made would echo across the multiverse. Let's get back to the ship, Lisa said finally. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and we need to prepare for whatever comes next. As they made their way back to the Horizon Explorer, the crew couldn't help but feel the weight of their discovery. The Nexus was a marvel, a mystery, and a challenge all rolled into one. And as they prepared to embark on the next phase of their journey, they knew that the stakes had never been higher. The Nexus was more than just a gateway. It was a test of their resolve, their wisdom, and their humanity. And they were about to find out if they were ready to face it. The image vanished and the chamber fell silent. The crystal continued to pulse with light, but the web of energy slowly dissipated, leaving the crew to contemplate the gravity of the situation. Lisa turned to her team, her expression resolute. We've been given a gift, but also a burden. We need to understand this technology, to learn how to use it responsibly. We have to ensure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Michael nodded in agreement. We'll need to study the Nexus, figure out its safeguards, its limitations. But first, we need to report back to Earth, let them know what we found. Sarah chimed in, her voice steady. If we can harness the Nexus, it could be a beacon of hope, a way to connect with other civilizations, to share knowledge and resources. But we have to be careful. This kind of power, it could change everything. Lisa took a deep breath, her mind racing with the possibilities and the dangers. The Nexus was a gateway to the unknown, a path that could lead to incredible discoveries or unimaginable destruction. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Their journey had only just begun, and the decisions they made would echo across the multiverse. Let's get back to the ship, Lisa said finally. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and we need to prepare for whatever comes next. As they made their way back to the Horizon Explorer, the crew couldn't help but feel the weight of their discovery. The Nexus was a marvel, a mystery, and a challenge all rolled into one. And as they prepared to embark on the next phase of their journey, they knew that the stakes had never been higher. The Nexus was more than just a gateway. It was a test of their resolve, their wisdom, and their humanity. And they were about to find out if they were ready to face it. After a long pause, Lisa spoke up, her voice firm. Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll send a secure, encrypted message back to Earth, detailing what we found. We'll emphasize the need for extreme caution and suggest that only a select group of trusted individuals be informed. She looked around the table, meeting each crew member's gaze. Second, we're going to stay here and continue our research. Michael, I want you and Sarah to focus on the crystal, figure out how it works and what safeguards are in place. James, you'll help me monitor the surrounding area. We need to make sure we're not the only ones who know about the Nexus. The crew nodded in agreement, their expressions resolute. The plan was risky, but it was the best option they had. They needed to understand the Nexus and its power before deciding how to proceed. As the meeting adjourned, Lissa lingered in the command center, staring at the holographic image of the Nexus. The weight of responsibility pressed down on her shoulders, but she knew they had to see this through. The Nexus was a discovery of unparalleled significance, and its potential to change the course of history, for better or worse, was immense. The next few days were a blur of activity. Michael and Sarah worked tirelessly in the lab, analyzing the crystal and its connection to the Nexus. They discovered that the crystal was indeed a control mechanism, but its operation was complex, involving a series of codes and signals that responded to specific inputs. It was as if the Nexus was designed to recognize and respond to certain commands that could only be understood by those with the knowledge to wield them. Meanwhile, James and Lissa kept a close watch on the surrounding space, scanning for any signs of other ships or entities that might be drawn to the Nexus. The vast emptiness of space seemed to stretch on forever, but there was always the nagging fear that someone, or something, was watching. The threshold. The days passed in a tense blur, the crew of the Horizon Explorer working around the clock. Michael and Sarah had made significant progress in understanding the crystal's control mechanisms, unraveling layers of complex code and energy patterns. James and Lissa continued to monitor the area, but there were no signs of other ships, at least none they could detect. The looming arrival of the task force added a palpable pressure, pushing everyone to their limits. Finally, the day arrived. The Horizon Explorer was stationed just outside the Nexus, the massive structure casting an ominous shadow over the ship. Lissa stood in the command center, her eyes fixed on the main display. The task force was only hours away. "Michael, Sarah, what's the status of the crystal?" she asked, her voice tight with anticipation. Michael looked up from his console, his expression a mix of excitement and trepidation. "We've unlocked a significant portion of the crystal's coding. It appears the Nexus has several defensive protocols designed to prevent unauthorized access. However, we've also found something else, a set of coordinates buried deep within the code. We believe these coordinates lead to a specific location within the Nexus, possibly the control room." "Control room," James echoed, leaning in. "That could be where we can fully access the Nexus's capabilities." "Or it could be a trap," Sarah cautioned. "We still don't fully understand this technology. One wrong move, and we could trigger something catastrophic." Lissa considered their words, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. They were standing on the threshold of a monumental discovery, but the risks were enormous. If they waited for the task force, they might lose the chance to control the Nexus, or worse, see it weaponized by forces they couldn't trust. But if they acted now, they might be able to secure it for peaceful exploration. "Prepare the shuttle," Lissa said finally, her voice steady with resolve. "We're going in." The crew moved quickly, donning their gear and running final checks on the shuttle. Within minutes, Lissa, Michael, Sarah, and James were strapped in, the shuttle detaching from the Horizon Explorer and heading toward the Nexus. The massive structure loomed larger as they approached, its intricate designs glowing faintly with energy. As they entered the Nexus, the shuttle's sensors went wild, detecting a complex web of energy fields and structures. They followed the coordinates Michael had deciphered, weaving through the labyrinth of corridors and passageways until they reached a massive chamber deep within the Nexus. The chamber was unlike anything they had seen, a vast, circular room with walls covered in intricate patterns and symbols. In the center stood a large console, surrounded by a halo of light that pulsed with energy. The crystal they had studied was embedded in the console, its facets shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "This is it," Michael whispered, awe in his voice. "The control room." Lissa stepped forward, her hand hovering over the console. "If we activate this, there's no going back. Are we sure we want to do this?" "We don't have much time," James said, glancing at the chronometer. "The task force will be here soon. If we don't take control now, We might lose our chance. Sarah nodded, though her expression was tense. Just be careful. We don't know what will happen. Taking a deep breath, Lisa placed her hand on the console. The crystal flared with light, and the chamber around them began to hum with energy. Symbols and patterns on the walls shifted and rearranged themselves, forming new configurations as the Nexus responded to her touch. Suddenly, the entire structure shuddered, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber. It was a voice like no other, ancient, powerful, and filled with a profound sense of awareness. Access granted. Welcome, travelers of the stars. You stand at the threshold of infinity. The crew exchanged stunned glances as the voice continued. The Nexus is a bridge between worlds, a gateway to countless realities. Its power is vast, but it is not without limits. Those who seek to control it must prove their worth. Lisa felt a surge of energy course through her, as if the Nexus itself was probing her mind, testing her resolve. Images flashed before her eyes, countless worlds, each more wondrous and terrifying than the last. She saw civilizations rise and fall, galaxies collide, and the very fabric of reality twist and bend in ways that defied comprehension. We seek knowledge and peace, Lisa said, her voice strong and clear. We wish to explore the Nexus, to learn from it, and to use its power to benefit all life. There was a moment of silence, and then the voice spoke again, softer this time, almost gentle. Your intentions are noble, but the path ahead is fraught with peril. The Nexus can be a tool of creation or a weapon of destruction. Choose wisely, for your actions will shape the fate of countless worlds. The light around the crystal intensified, and the symbols on the walls began to glow with a brilliant light. The energy in the chamber built to a crescendo, and then, in a blinding flash, everything went still. When the light faded, the crew found themselves standing in the same chamber, but something had changed. The console was now active, its controls glowing softly, waiting for input. The Nexus had accepted them. We did it, Michael breathed, his eyes wide with disbelief. We have control. Lisa looked at the console, her mind racing with possibilities. They had unlocked the Nexus, but the responsibility that came with it was immense. The task force would arrive soon, and they would have to decide how to proceed. But for now, they had taken the first step. The Nexus was theirs to explore, to understand, and to protect. As they prepared to return to the shuttle, Lisa felt a deep sense of resolve settle over her. They had crossed the threshold, and there was no turning back. The future was uncertain, but they were ready to face it, whatever it might bring. The Nexus was a gateway to infinite possibilities, and they were its guardians. The journey had only just begun.